Hi, I'm Robert Tolpe, and today I'm talking about Jodi Picoult, the undisputed and problematic queen of the airport bookstore. She has sold over 40 million copies of her 28 books, which many find compelling despite the criticism of a vocal minority that deems them to be mind rot. As someone who has read many Jodi Picoult books, I can definitely see why they fly off the shelves. Their fast-paced storylines are filled with heart-wrenching plot twists, and their characters resonate with the likes of your average middle-class white reader. But Picoult's often flippant portrayal of the grave and controversial topics she takes on in her novels provokes thoughts no deeper than a kiddie pool. Unlike some, I don't believe this stems from Picoult's inability to write nuanced books of merit. Her resume and command of prose are impressive, leading me to believe that she knows she isn't doing the themes she attempts to tackle justice. Despite this, Picoult continues to churn out a problematic book every year. It seems as long as she continues to capitalize on the political hot topic of the times effectively, I don't believe she's inclined to care whether her work is harmful or not. Picoult is no dummy. She has an undergraduate degree in creative writing from Princeton and a master's degree from Harvard, and oh boy, can she write. Perfect for a long flight, it's no wonder her books are featured so prominently in airport bookstores. They are crafted with her mostly white, straight, abled readers in mind, so they can thoughtlessly slip into a different world. Picoult exposes these readers to things they rarely encounter in their bubbles of privilege, such as blackness, lesbianism, and autism. She presents herself as an educator of the masses, writing deeply personal tales of marginalized people based on extensive research, of course. That's part of the appeal of her books. Her almost pedantic display of apparent mastery of the subject she writes about is enchanting to many with no prior knowledge of the topic. But how extensive is her research really if she poops out a book like clockwork every year? Additionally, she isn't black, nor is she a lesbian, and I don't believe she's autistic, so are the characters she crafts any good? I'm certainly not black, so I can't tell you whether Picoult can convincingly tell a story featuring a black person, but writer and professor Roxane Gay is black and a seasoned academic. Her review of Picoult's book Small Great Things rips apart its portrayal of black people. According to Gay, while the white characters in Picoult's book are multifaceted and believable, the two-dimensional black characters in her book and the issues they face seem to be a product of what Gay calls black people bingo. It's as if Picoult has a bingo card of all the hot topics she wants to talk about related to black people, and is trying to check off all the boxes she can in her writing. Colorism, professional discrimination, segregation, the challenges of black ambition, microaggressions, the welfare system. Bingo! Gay says this phenomenon, which is not unique to this book, by the way, makes the novel feel excessively and desperately didactic. Despite this, Gay gives the book an A- for effort of sorts because she knows that some people, especially the white people the book is clearly written for, might be in need of the lessons the book tries to teach. Roxane Gay's review makes me reflect on my own writing and also makes me more sympathetic to Picoult's mission. While I'm not writing stories like her, I understand that my videos about race are never going to provide a deeply personal account of the black experience, and some black viewers may not get anything out of them at all. This does not necessarily mean they're worthless trash. In fact, like Picoult's books, some might find them enlightening. One difference between Picoult and me, however, is that I don't pretend to have any specialized knowledge on the subjects I speak on. I don't profess to do extensive research for my videos either. They largely represent my personal opinion as informed by a few articles or books that I've read. In fact, when people laud my videos as being so well researched, I actually get very uncomfortable. On the other hand, Picoult seems to bask in this kind of praise, despite said praise sometimes being undeserved. Picoult maintains that she strives to portray marginalized characters in her books to the best of her ability. When writing her novel Sing You Home, she has a vested interest in doing so. Her son is gay, she has many gay friends, and she wanted her book to communicate the importance of human rights for gay people, namely the right to raise children. The novel is about a lesbian couple, Zoe and Vanessa, and their custody battle over embryos from Zoe's previous marriage with her homophobic ex-husband, Max. The book appears to be 17 hours and 24 minutes of pure torture, so please forgive me that I don't have the time or desire to read it, so I read the Wikipedia summary and called it a day. While I can't speak on the book itself, it did receive many positive reviews, even from critics. Unfortunately, as much of a page-turner as it sounds, the plot sounds like Picoult is playing bingo again, only this time with lesbians. We have the ex-husband whose wife left him for a woman, a homophobic evangelical pastor as the bad guy, the difficulties with custody and bearing children, the dramatization of topics including gay marriage and IVF. Bingo! Geez, how many hot-button issues from 2011 can you cram into one book, Picoult? Because that sounds like a lot. Additionally, the didactic qualities of Picoult's work rear their ugly head again in Sing You Home. Some excerpts reviewers have selected from the book highlight its excruciatingly boring bouts of inculcation. This one is from the Washington Post review. Believe me, being gay is not a choice. No one would choose to make life harder than it has to be, and no matter how confident and comfortable a gay person is, he or she can't control the thoughts of others. I've had people move out of my row in a movie theater if they see me holding hands with a woman, apparently disgusted by a public display of affection when, one row behind us, a teenage couple is practically undressing each other. Wow, Picoult, how poetic and original. As cringe as it is sometimes, I do believe books like this have a purpose. Sing You Home has inspired many people, and if it makes at least one person out there less bigoted and more sympathetic to gay rights, it's pretty easy to forgive Picoult for being so heavy-handed with the moral lessons. So far, I've been very charitable to Jodi Picoult, but the two books I've mentioned are probably her best work, to be honest. It all goes downhill from there. The worst book I have ever read by Jodi Picoult is House Rules. Her portrayal of Jacob, a young man with Asperger's, is a train wreck. Jacob is obsessed with crime scene investigation, and this obsession comes into play when he is wrongfully accused of murder. A whole courtroom drama plays out, and there are plenty of plot twists, but I'm more concerned with how she approaches autism spectrum disorder. As someone who was diagnosed with Asperger's as a child, I consider Picoult's portrayal of the disorder to be shockingly bad. Asperger's is a defunct diagnosis and is now considered part of autism spectrum disorder, but it describes a profile of what is often referred to as high-functioning autism. For me personally, my autism takes a toll on certain areas of my cognition and to a lesser degree my social skills, but as an adult, my social life is fine. I am employed, thanks to you lovely folks, and I'm graduating from college with a bachelor's degree in May. Though I understand people who have Asperger's diagnoses have different levels of support needs, in all the therapy groups I've ever been in, I've never quite met someone with an Asperger's diagnosis that has as many symptoms and support needs as Jacob. Even when Asperger's was a thing, Jacob has so many concerns with overstimulating environments and social skills that Asperger's really doesn't encompass the extent of his condition. Now, I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist, and I can't attest to the accuracy of the book with any authority. But according to two psychiatrists that wrote this review I found on PubMed Central, despite the interpretation of Asperger's as part of the autism spectrum, the extent of Jacob's disability seems excessive at times. The author admits to taking a compilation of stories from her interviews and attributing them to Jacob, at times leading to a collection of behaviors that would individually be considered eccentric, but totaled together become quite pathological. This is a frequently employed device in fictional accounts of mental illness as part of an amplification of deviance. So basically, Jodi Picoult is playing up the disorder for the novel, which not only makes it more exciting, but is also part of her attempt to educate the public about every single symptom of the disorder she can. Her attempts at educating the masses, however, are very concerning at times. Firstly, I feel that another portrayal of an autistic person that cannot defend or speak for themselves is the last thing we need. These portrayals by neurotypical people drown out the personal experiences of the millions of autistic people who are fully capable of expressing their own thoughts about their disorder. Secondly, while autism is a disability and it can be difficult being a parent of a child with autism, this book perpetuates the idea that autistic people are just tremendous burdens on everyone around them, and that it's probably better off to not have an autistic child. Also, I did not remember this being in the novel, but the psychiatrist reviewing it picked up on some anti-vaxx sentiments in the novel, which is a big yikes. Just listen to some of these quotes. They were selected by the talented undergraduate student Matthew Bantic as part of his research into autism fiction. Jacob's mother states at one point that, "My son looked like any other 2-year-old until he had a round of shots that included DTaP, HIV, and hepatitis B." You could chalk that quote up to the character's ignorance, but a literal medical professional in Picoult's book, Jacob's Psychiatrist, regurgitates this anti-vaxx nonsense. "This is something chemical in his brain, mercury poisoning of a sort, caused by vaccinations." No one with a medical degree or any grasp of chemistry would say this. Thimerosal, the mercury-containing substance in vaccines, does not cause mercury poisoning. Just because a compound has a dangerous element in it doesn't mean that it has the properties of that element. That's like saying table salt will explode if you put it in water because it has sodium in it. It's utter nonsense. This doctor's statement is a product of Picoult's pure ignorance and carelessness regarding the subject she's writing on. While the novel doesn't explicitly say, "Do not vaccinate your kids," this is irresponsible. Through her haphazard handling of autism spectrum disorder in her work, Picoult reveals that those interviews on television where she talks in length about her extensive and scholarly research for her books are nothing more than theatrical productions to drum up respect for books that should not be considered authoritative accounts of serious conditions. From what I can surmise from her publication schedule, from conception to distribution, all 560 pages of house rules were written and edited in around a year, which means, leaving time for revisions, she probably only had a matter of weeks to conduct interviews and read scientific literature, assuming she did that at all. Judging from the quality of her work, I doubt she did any more research than simply glancing at WebMD and having a 15-minute phone call with Jenny McCarthy, because if she had done her due diligence, I'm sure she would have discovered that there is zero evidence of a link between vaccination and autism. According to the PubMed review, Picoult's book leans on the side of diverting from the vaccination schedule outlined by doctors to minimize the risk of developing autism from the vaccines. But there is also zero evidence that the schedule poses a threat to a child's health, and an abundance of evidence that diverting from the normal vaccine schedule puts a child at risk of dying from a preventable disease. While I'm sure Picoult loves her work and enjoys her success, and I'm sure she feels she's making a difference, every 1 out of 10 of her books is so awful and harmful that it mars her body of work, practically nullifying any good her other books have done. While I only talked about house rules, wait till you read 19 Minutes or My Sister's Keeper, and you'll see how Picoult fumbles around with serious topics and quickly drops the ball. But why can't she produce high-quality work? Perhaps bioethicist Martha Montello is right, and that Jodi Picoult's failing is that she promises more than fails to deliver. She raises compelling questions via throat-grabbing plot, but either doesn't know how to answer them or refuses to. I'm inclined to believe she can answer these questions, and she probably wants to. But in light of the millions of dollars she makes writing subpar novels, I don't think she's inclined to care whether they meet her standards, as long as they meet her bottom line. Anyways, I'm Robert Tolpe, and for a single dollar a month, you can help me meet my bottom line on patreon.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I hope you have a good week. Bye-bye.